we go. All right, everyone. So again, welcome. This is the Rooney Library webinar on basic search strategies, and my name is Keela Villa. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is going to be our agenda for today, and I'm hoping to keep it around 30 minutes or so. We will have a Q&A at the end, but we're first going to talk about assignment instructions before you actually begin your research process. What's that going to look like? Then some of the starting places for your research, like quick search and library guides. But then the bulk of our time today is going to be about databases. How can you go deeper with those and be able to use those to the best of your ability? All right, so it looks like most of you here are faculty. So a lot of times when we're looking at research, we need to begin with the assignment instructions. So for students, they need to think about, okay, how many sources do I need? That's going to tell them where they need to start. And it's also going to tell them, okay, how much time do I need to spend on this? Am I just looking for one resource or am I looking for 10? As faculty, whenever you are developing assignments, it's good to think about these points as well, whenever you're thinking about how much time students are going to need for their assignments. But another key thing to think about is what kind of sources do the students need? Are you asking them to look for ebooks, articles, theses, primary documents? What is that? And so that's going to determine what kind of databases we are looking in. Also, are there any special requirements for those sources? So for example, a lot of times students will be looking for peer-reviewed articles or scholarly articles, or they might be asked to look for something within a particular journal. Maybe they're supposed to be looking for subject-specific databases, which we'll get into here towards the end. Maybe it's things written within the last 5 years. Whatever it is, these are going to be filters and information that we need to refine to find those results that we need. Another thing to consider before you jump into the research process, what citation style are you using? That's going to be really helpful whenever you are using those citation generators that are in the databases. And then finally, when is this due? If a student is working on an assignment and it's due tomorrow, maybe they procrastinated, then it really wouldn't be a good idea to try to look for things via interlibrary loan. We are going to need things that are full text. However, if an assignment is due 2 or 3 weeks in the future, then there would be adequate time to be able to use interlibrary loan resources. So these are just those starting points that we'll use as we go into the search. So I just want to walk through Quick Search before I actually show it on the screen. But with Quick Search, you're going to find this on the library homepage, and it is our most comprehensive database. So it searches for everything. You're going to be able to find print and digital resources from many of our databases, even places that the library does not own, which again will bring into that interlibrary loan access. So it's a really great starting place for basic research. And it works best if you already know what you're looking for. You're going to see we can search by keyword, title, and author. Now, because it's searching through so many places, it's our most comprehensive database. It's going to pull several thousand results. I've even done practice searches where I have close to 1 million results, and it's like, wow, there's definitely a lot to work through there. Now, quick search, because of the amount of data, there can sometimes be bugs and error codes that will prevent you from accessing a source. So for example, yesterday I had a professor contact me. It showed that in quick search, there was an article available, but whenever she clicked on it, it wasn't taking her to the proper place. It said it was locked. And so sometimes you will see things like that happen, but I can show you some workarounds for that. Alrighty, so with this in mind, let's look at our quick search. Most of you are probably very familiar with this already. It's going to be on our library homepage, and you'll see we can search by keyword, title, or author. So again, this is going to be ideal when you already know what you're looking for because of how much information is there. We have some other filters that we can start with, so think about those assignment instructions. And if you are a professor, I always encourage you, go ahead and try these searches yourself before you assign them to your students, just to see what that process is like and ensure that we do have things related to those topics. So for example, for the purpose of this search, I'm going to pretend that I'm a student. I'm interested in seeing how mental health affects college success. Is there any kind of connection there, especially after COVID-19? So for example, what I can do is start with keywords. What I don't want to do is type out a full sentence because then I have a lot of those filler words that are going to bring up extra results that really don't match what I'm looking for. So for example, I recommend doing something here like mental health and college success. Just so you can see how we use the filters later, let me go ahead and click that search. Quick search often will take a while because it's looking through so many things at once. So you'll see here, just those, I have 19,000 results. So I like to tell people to work smarter, not harder when it comes to library research. So we're going to be using some filters to refine that and bring that down. So one of them I like to use is full text. This is ideal whenever you are on a deadline, you don't have time to request copies for an interlibrary loan. You're going to be able to access everything right there. Let's say peer-reviewed, your professor has asked you to search for those scholarly resources. That's going to be another easy filter. So you see we've already cut this down in about half. Some of the other easy filters that I can get to here would be like the source type. So for example, if I'm just looking for academic journals, I can do that. And as I said, I'm wanting to find things within the last 5 years. And so I can refine that even further. So now I've refined it a lot. I still have about 4,000 items to look through. So this is a really great starting point to see what is available. But again, as you work through those filters, you're still going to see that there's a lot of information. So that's why we're going to get into the databases where we can refine that even more. Just to note, you're going to see this every time that you go on your quick search. You will want to sign in to the library. It's going to be your SMWC credentials so that you don't get error messages and issues whenever you are logging in to see some of this stuff. And I do want to point out, if you feel really confident with quick search, this is really good news for you because about 2/3 of our databases are the same interface. So our quick search is through EBSCO. It's one of our library vendors. And so when I'm looking through the databases later and showing you those, I'm going to focus on those EBSCO databases. So they really go hand in hand. Alrighty. So let's see here. Another thing I want to point out to you about the quick search is something called our publication finder. So if you missed that, that's over here under research tools. So this is a place where you can go if you do have that issue where you're trying to find an article, it's taking you somewhere where it says that there's not access, even though you're logged in, there's just that issue for some reason. You can find what the journal title is and you can type it in here. From within that journal, you can then look for that particular article. So this is a really helpful step if you aren't already using this, or if you are assigning your students to look in a particular journal, or if you are a student, you were supposed to be looking in a particular journal. This is a really great place to go. So let me go ahead and sign in here just so we can see this. All right, so this will sometimes take a minute as well, but that's okay. Another thing, oh, well, here we go. It's already loaded. So whenever I click into it, if I want to see if the article is good, I can look at things like the abstract, which is like a summary. I can look at subjects here, which will take me to other things related to that subject. So this is another cool feature of Quick Search and some of those databases. But I don't want to spend most of my time in Quick Search. Let me go ahead and move out of that. I want to look at some more things as well. So another good starting point with your research will be our library guides. So we offer research guides for each major and minor, research guides for particular classes, and citation guides for your APA and MLA formatting. These are lifesavers for students, especially who need to find everything in one place, because these are librarian curated, they are approved by professors. Let me show you where to find those if you're not familiar already. So on our library homepage, you'll see we have a direct link to our citation guides here and to our research guides here. Now, just an extra step, so you know, if you want to see every single guide that we've created, click on this little link here that says LibGuides, and you're going to be able to see all of them. So right now we have 50. So we have all kinds of really cool guides. We have course guides. So students, if you are in one of these particular classes and you have a research assignment, visit this course guide because it's going to have tips and tricks to help you with those research assignments. Faculty, we have guides for you. We also have general guides like about the library. We have things on search techniques, which will be really helpful. Let's see, we've got research guides, which is what you're normally going to see when you click on that link. And then, of course, those style guides. So since my topic is about mental health and that relation to college success, I'm just going to open up the psychology research guide so you can kind of see what that looks like. Faculty, I encourage you to show these to your students. These are great places for them to go to find databases, books, citation help, things like that. So this will give them information about, hey, these are the best databases that we recommend for these topics, books, things like that. There's also going to be contact information for the librarians. All right. So that's just a really good starting place, but where I want to focus is our databases. So databases can seem a little bit scary at times. What a database is it's just an organized collection of data that you can retrieve. So you could think of really a filing cabinet being a database. That's more of a physical database. I don't know how many of us have huge, extensive filing cabinets anymore, but that would be the same thing. So our databases, these have indexed information, sources that are related to academics. And a lot of the databases are subject specific. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through this database process as if I am looking for the topic of mental health and college success. So with that in mind, we're going to go back to the Rooney Library homepage. Here are my databases. And if you get here and you think, wow, this is really overwhelming, there's 126. How am I supposed to know which database to use? I totally understand. It can feel that way sometimes, but we have lots of tools that can help you filter down to the most effective databases for your topic. So if you are using those library guides and you rather would just come here for database ideas, one of the first things I suggest is to look at subjects. So you'll see here, we've got a list of many, many subjects. And so I'm going to choose psychology and I'm going to choose education as my databases. So I'm going to go from 126 to 42 databases now. And you'll see there's always going to be this yellow box that has best bets. It's going to show you these are the ones that the librarians recommend for these particular topics. Now, what I also recommend is to think about the type of information as a student you are looking for, or professors, what you are asking your students to look for. So if it's history class, you're probably looking for primary documents or newspapers. If you are in a master's program, maybe you're working through theses and dissertations and you need examples. Whatever that is that you need, you can refine by that. So for the purpose of today, I'm just going to look for articles. So that brings me down to 24, which is still a big number. Now, if you feel confident using Quick Search and some of the databases that I show you today, and you would like to use those in the future, those are going to be EBSCO databases. So as I said earlier, 2/3 of our databases are EBSCO. So these are really great places to go just to practice those same skills, and you can actually make accounts within that. So let me go ahead and pull up psych articles. And you'll actually see over here, PsycArticles is a featured database along with Academic Search Ultimate. Those are really popular databases. Okay, so first thing to look at here is whenever you get into the database, if you are using EBSCO, I recommend taking a moment to either create an account with EBSCO or to sign in. You can do this on your quick search. So this is just a really good option to stay organized. I've actually had my EBSCO account since I was in high school. And so whenever I go over to my saved, let me see my saved folder, you're going to see all 105 articles that I have saved through my time in high school and all of my degrees. So if you feel like you're constantly losing access to the articles that you find, the EBSCO databases are wonderful because you can save a lot of those. Keep it all in one place and it holds it through the whole time you have that account. It doesn't necessarily have to link to your SMWC account. It can just be an unrelated account, so it can follow you from institution to institution. So that's just something that I wanted to point out to you, just as a way to work smarter, more efficiently as you do some of this stuff. Okay. So now that we're going to actually be searching, maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, it seemed like there were quite a few of those databases that would work for me. Do I have to go into each one of them individually? Actually, you don't. One of the features of the EBSCO databases is that you can search through multiple databases at once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me go back to that again. I'm going to click here where it says where I'm searching, which is APA PsycArticles. I'm going to add some of the other databases that I recommended. So like ERIC is an education database. There's the Professional Development Collection, which is education. I've got Psychology and Behavioral Sciences. I'm also going to add an Academic Search Ultimate just because that is the featured database for the library. So when I click select, what you're going to see is now I'm searching 6 databases. I'm not searching 152. I'm not searching in a quick search. I'm searching 6 different databases. And if it feels like you still get too many results, you can continue to refine those databases. So what I want to do before I show you some of these search terms is show you the publications tab here. Again, a lot of times students will have to look for things within particular journals. So if you go over to the publications tab, this is where you can do that. You can look for the particular database and search for journal here, or you can again go over to that publication finder and look for it there. But that's just another helpful feature that you can use whenever you are completing a search to make sure that you're not in an area that's going to take you to things that don't relate to your topic or to the assignment needs. So whenever it comes time to picking search terms, as I said, it's really not ideal to use a whole sentence. We really want to create a search string of keywords that relate particularly to the key ideas in our research. So as you saw me do before, I did mental health. And what you're going to see in a lot of the databases is it's going to recommend other terms. So here we see it's encouraging me to try things like mental illness, mental disorder, psychiatric illness, things like that. This is really nice if you're not really sure of the keyword that you want to use and you want to expand. And if you notice that the recommended keywords don't really match what you're looking for, that's okay. You don't have to use them. But these are indexed words. They're part of a controlled vocabulary that librarians and indexers use, just as those key terms that will regularly show up. So for my purpose, I don't really feel like mental illness is what I'm looking for. I'm mainly looking for mental health holistically. So one way to really capture my search better is to use the second box, and I can use another term. So again, we'll see it does have different suggestions for me, such as college success or academic success. I'll go ahead and try that. Now, if you would like to change some of the fields that you look in, you can do that. For now, I'm just going to try full text and see where that takes me. Let me go ahead and do that initial search so we can see how, once we start using the filters, what that does. So I initially start with 13,000 results, which, like quick search, that's a lot for me to look through. I don't have time to look through all of that, so I am going to use filters to make that easier on me. Like I said, I recommend full text, and I recommend peer-reviewed, especially if that's going to be part of your assignment. Now, if peer-reviewed or scholarly sources are not necessarily a part of your assignment, you don't have to click that, but I like to use that when I'm looking for articles. I want to look for things in the past 5 years, and I want to look for academic journals. Now, let me point out some other filters that we haven't looked at yet. So, for example, English is probably the language that I want to have everything in, unless you are in a foreign language class like French or Spanish, but you can refine by that language. You can also refine, for example, like if you're looking at psychology or sociology, you can do things where you refine by the age group that is the focus of the article. So that's a really great way to refine. You can even refine by gender. So like if you're doing work for a women's studies class, this would be a great filter to use. But you'll see, and this is especially because we're looking at some of the psychology databases, you're going to see things like I can filter by the population or the methodology of how this is used. So whatever you feel like is going to align best with your search, go ahead, try those filters. The great thing is that if you try a filter and it, makes your results 0, or you feel like it just didn't help you find what you need, you can easily take away that filter and go back to where you started. So the filters that I've just used are just the basic filters. Now in the Advanced Search Strategies webinar, you'll probably see a lot more of those filters in use and how you can utilize those effectively. Now let's see here. I've got 3,000 results, which is still a lot. And it looks like my first one is on childcare and pregnancy and how that affects the academic success of college students. I see mental health counseling in college students, see academic success. So you're going to see, the nice thing is it's going to highlight a lot of those words that you've put in to make it easier for you to find. Now, let's say you put in a search term and you feel like this isn't quite what I'm looking for. You can always delete that. I'm going to see what happens when I just try college success, if it's going to help me out. So when I'm just focusing on college success by itself, related to mental health, now I have 150 results. I'm going to try something additionally. Like I said, I'm interested in how it's been affected since COVID-19. Now that was about 5 years ago, so I'm already using my 5-year filter. So now I'm down to 10. So you can continue to add different search terms to find what you're looking for. So now I have 10 here. So I'm just going to choose one for the purpose of this search. So whenever I'm looking here, some ways to know if this is worth it to actually go in and start evaluating. Like I said before, go ahead and look at that abstract. Does it seem like it's going to be valuable to your research? Some of the other things you can do again is to look at those subjects. If the subjects don't seem to align, you might want to change the subjects you're looking for or those keywords. Oftentimes, if you're at a loss for the subject terms to use or the search string to use, connect with a librarian. We're happy to help you come up with those keywords. We can look at that controlled vocabulary, or your professor might have suggestions as well. We may not actually know like the specific term within the field because we're not an expert in history or math, but your professor might know in their field what term people are using in academics, and they can help you with that as well. The thing is with research, it's a learning process and things change all the time, but that's okay. As you search, as you practice these things, you are improving as a researcher and you're getting those really important skills. So let me go ahead and take a look at this one. So you saw that this article had an option for PDF and online full text. I always recommend use the PDF format because it's going to have page numbers. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes left. It's going to have page numbers, which if you are using APA formatting, that's going to be very important for you to have those page numbers when you do the in-text citations. So when I'm actually looking at the article, let's, look at the abstract. Let's look at those keywords. Do these seem like they align with what I need? For example, I see college success here as one of the keywords. Something that you can also do is use Control Find to search for different words, and it's going to highlight it here within your text. Currently, EBSCO is trying to get that interface in their articles, but you can kind of work around that with that Control Find feature. Another thing to look at when you're deciding, is this going to be a valuable article for me? Did I find the right things within my search results? Look at things like the headings, just to give you an idea of the topics and kind of where that paper is going. You also want to look, after I finish scrolling all the way to the bottom, this is a very long article, also look at the references. By looking at the references, you may find other articles that seem exactly what you're looking for. So we've got 3 pages of references. There might be something here that aligns very well with what I'm looking for. And if you find something in the references that you want to look for, this is a perfect place to use that quick search feature. You can type that title directly in and be able to find it. So let's say I've looked through the article, I've evaluated it, it looks good, I want to use it. One of the things you can do if you're logged into that EBSCO account is to save it. So whenever I go back to my folder, it's going to be saved there forever. Now, one of the things I said for us to look at is citation styles. That's because the databases will show you different citation styles. Now, because it is machine generated, it's always going to be good to check that against our formal citation guides or the Purdue Online Writing Lab, just to ensure that everything is correct, especially because all these citation formats seem to change every year sometimes, it feels like. So you'll see here we have an MLA and APA available. Now, one thing to mention is on EBSCO, if you do make that account, you can create particular projects that you put articles or chapters within. So that's just another way to stay organized. Now, if you don't want to make an EBSCO account, that's okay. Let's say you just want to share the article with yourself so that you can access it later, or you want to share it with a colleague or another student. You can add that to Google Drive, OneDrive, or you can create a link. Now, I do want to point out, don't ever use the link that's up at the top to share, because that is just specific to the session that you were on your browser. If you try to use that and send that to someone or even yourself later, you will get an error message. So make sure to use this permanent link so that you can access it for sure in the future. If you would rather, you can email the article to yourself as a PDF, or if you'd like, you can download it or you can print it. Now, one feature that I love about databases is a lot of them right now are moving towards where you can listen to it being read to you. This is wonderful, especially if you're an auditory learner. And I think it might be this database, but there are some where you can actually choose the accent. So if you want to listen to someone with an Australian accent, you can do that. Not that it will necessarily help your research anymore, but if you want to be entertained a little bit, you can choose the different accents for that. But that's a wonderful option if you are an auditory learner. All right. So with all this in mind, this is a very quick look at how do I use databases? How do I just get started? So with all this in mind, if you want to contact me, if it will actually take me there we go. If you want to contact me or connect with me in the future, and my name is Keela, I'm a research services librarian, and I mainly work with the Division of Arts and Social Sciences. I've got my email here, and we do have virtual office hours available for each of the librarians. It will change every semester, but right now mine are on Mondays from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time. So that's really ideal for people on the West Coast, online students, because it's only like 7 p.m. for us at that time, but you can always connect with me via that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up time for FAQ. If anyone has questions about anything that we just went over. I know it was a lot. I know it was really fast. But if you have any thoughts or questions, we are open to that right now.
This is Peggy Nash. I don't have any questions, but I wanted to say that this is very helpful. I am an employee, but also a student. So
Oh,
this has
wonderful.
been very, very helpful for me. Thank you
I'm
for
so glad.
doing this.
Yes, thank you. And if you're available, we've got those 2 other webinars that'll be in March and April that will really build off of this one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I see all the comments coming in. I'm so glad that it was helpful, everyone. All right, well, if there are not any questions, I'm going to go ahead and close out of the Zoom. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel if you ever want to go back and look at it a little slower than we did today, if you need to pause it or whatever. And then again, I hope that you'll join us in March and April for our future webinars. But thanks, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day.